The skeptics and cynics said, yes, they have made a remarkable, indeed almost miraculous transition from repression to freedom and democracy. And they've done so remarkably peacefully. But just wait until a black-led government is in place. Then, as sure as anything, we are going to witness the most ghastly orgy of revenge and retribution, for the blacks have suffered much at the hands of the whites, and they will surely want to get their own back. Well, mercifully, these prophets of doom were proved to be wrong. When the world watched with wonder and awe, and they saw the Truth and Reconciliation Commission process unfolding before their very eyes, instead of the victims of so much unnecessary suffering paying for the blood of their tormentors, they amazed the world with their magnanimity, their nobility of spirit, in their willingness to forgive those who had inflicted so much suffering on them. There were very many in our country who had called for Nuremberg-type trials, but our country had seen a military stalemate. Neither side in the struggle, neither the apartheid government nor the liberation movements had defeated its opponents, whereas the Allies, as we know, defeated the Nazis comprehensively and so could impose so-called victor's justice. We would almost certainly not have had a reasonably peaceful transition had the security forces known they were for the high jump, facing prosecution after the changeover. And our already burdened justice system would have collapsed under the weight of all the cases, and we could not have afforded the high cost of litigation. It would have caused much frustration to people as the courts failed to convict most of those charged, since they had shown over the years that they were past masters at concealing incriminating evidence. It would have been bad for the country to be exposed to all the sordid details over a long period of time, as litigation would normally have been so time-consuming. It was a blessing, therefore, that those who negotiated our transition rejected both the Nuremberg as well as the blanket amnesty options. The blanket amnesty option would have victimized the victims a second time round, saying to them that their experiences were unimportant or even as good as not having happened at all. Our country chose the route of granting amnesty in exchange for the whole truth, in a full disclosure of all the relevant facts relating to the offense for which amnesty was being sought. There were those who complained that this granting of amnesty was letting the perpetrators off lightly. Is this in fact so? We know just how difficult it is to say, I am sorry. Those seem to be some of the most difficult words in any language. I find it difficult to utter them even in the privacy of our bedroom to my wife. We can imagine then what it must have meant to the perpetrators to have to confess publicly under the glare of television lights. Frequently, the perpetrator had been a respected member of his community. This was the first time often, even for his family, to hear that this apparent paragon of virtue had in fact been a member of a police team that used torture on detainees routinely, or that he was a member of a death squad that assassinated as a matter of course those who were regarded as opponents of the vicious apartheid system. The stigma of such public shame and humiliation is a heavy price to have to pay, and in some instances, shocked spouses ended up divorcing their exposed husbands. But we would, in fact, in this instance, be thinking only in terms of retributive justice, whose raison d'etre is to punish the perpetrator